Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this afternoon's IMI webinar, all about the Apprenticeship Standards eLogbook and specifically the role of the Centre Coordinator. So supporting the event this afternoon is myself. I'm Chris Cottrell, and my job at the IMI is the UK Business Development Manager. Joining me in the background is Barry Williams, who is our Endpoint Assessment Manager for the South. And then from our e-learning and virtual learning environment teams, we've got Ian Holt and Elizabeth Denton. And also in the background, we've got Georgia, who has been organising the invitations and is currently controlling the PowerPoint slides as well. So thank you, Georgia. Elizabeth will be doing the majority of today's delivery when we get to the live demonstration. Next slide, please, Georgia. Thank you. So this webinar is the first in a series of webinars aimed at focusing on each specific role within the Apprenticeship Standards eLogbook. Today's focus obviously is the Centre Coordinator, and we'll be running events in the future aimed around the assessor or the coach role, the employer and mentor role, and the role of the apprentice finally. So you'll see within the Zoom functionality at the bottom of your screen a Q&A functionality button. So please, throughout today's event, write your questions into us. Myself, Barry and Ian will be responding to as many of those questions live during the presentation that Elizabeth's going to be doing. We'll reserve some of those questions for the final Q&A session at the end, question and answer session, sorry. And anything that we don't get to during the live event, don't worry, we will provide an answer to every question that we're asked, but some of those will be provided after the event's finished today. We are recording the webinar, and this recording will be sent to you all probably tomorrow for a resource for yourself and your wider colleagues to refer back to. So the agenda for today, I want to make the point of stressing that actually this is a pivotal role within the eLogbook system, and setting up the foundation is crucial for everything thereafter. So all the other roles that we'll go into on future events will be much easier to navigate their way through if this foundation bit is done correctly. So Elizabeth's going to go through how to redeem a code and access the eLogbook, and then how to assign job roles. So those 4 roles that we've been talking about, and then how to set up groups thereafter. So that's the main focus for today. So I think without further ado, I can now hand over to Elizabeth, who's going to do a live demonstration. So Elizabeth, over to you. Thank you.
Hi, thanks for that, Chris. As Chris has mentioned, today I'm going to be covering how to redeem a code. And just as a note, your redeem code should have been issued to you by the EPA team. So if they haven't, feel free to get in contact with them and they will send them out to you. For this live demonstration, I am going to be sharing my screen. So I'll just do that now. Give me a second. Okay, so hopefully everyone can see that. So the first thing that I'm going to go through is how to get to the redeem code page. So there are 2 methods to do this. One, which is to manually type it in, which you can do, which is www.theimi.org.uk/redeem/code. And if you press enter, a minute, you will be taken to our redeem code page. Now, what you could do is you could bookmark this page. I'm actually using Google Chrome at the minute, and to do this, you just need to click this little star here, and this will bookmark this for you, so you can find it for future purposes. And the other way you can find the redeem code page is if you go to the main IMI website, which is theimi.org.uk, and you scroll all the way down to the bottom. There is a permanent link to the redeem codes page down here. So we're going to click on this now. Okay, so redeem code. Okay. Right. Okay, bear with me 2 seconds. My web browser has cached a redeem code that's already in there. Sorry about that. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. Obviously, I've been practicing and my web browser's already cached that I had a redeem code in there. So I just had to log myself out and start again. So this is a page that you're brought to once you get the redeem code access page up. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab myself an access code and put it in there. So your access code is a combination of letters and numbers, all in uppercase. And you put it into your box here and click redeem code. Now, the next page that you were taken to is where you can either log on if you've got an existing IMI account. So if you do, you just need to put your username and password in, but if not, you can create a free account over on the right-hand side here. So if you click free account, you just need to put in a username, a password, an email address, and confirm your email address. Tick your box here to confirm that you're of age and register and redeem my code. Now I have an account, so I'm going to click log on and redeem code, and this will take me through to the same page that the create an account page will come up with. Okay, so this is the second stage to redeem your code. It's going to ask you for a little bit more information about yourself. So obviously put your name in, your date of birth, which is optional, a contact telephone number, and an email address. So those are all filled in because I have the account, and you just click next. The next part is your address. So I'm going to put in, which is our Fanshawe's address, and it's come up there just by putting it in the postcode, or you can manually enter your address here. It's very simple, straightforward, and then you click next. This box here is if you want to receive things like newsletters and updates from ourselves. If you don't, untick it, but if you do, please tick it and you'll get lots of lovely information from the IMI. And then the next bit is just click redeem access code. Give that a minute. Success, code has been redeemed. So we'll go to view courses and we'll click access my course. And we're now taken to the eLogbook. Now, one of the things that I must stress is that you cannot log directly into the e-learning website. You must always log on to the eLogbook via the IMI site. So we'll just go through that quickly now. So we go back to the main IMI page. And if you log on, which is fine, and then you click, which is in the tabs at the top, you scroll down to courses and then click view all booked courses here. And you'll see that the eLogbooks are here in your course. You may have more than one on here, that's absolutely fine, because you might be a member of several apprenticeship standards, that's fine, so click the course that you need and you will be taken through. Once the centre coordinator has logged on, they will need to email the e-learning team to have their account access changed. All people, when they log straight onto the eLogbook, go on as an apprentice as standard. So in order to have your centre coordinator role given to you, you will need to email elearning@theimi.org.uk. That's elearning@theimi.org.uk. Once you've done that and you've had your account status changed, you can now assign roles to other members on the eLogbook. And that's our next section, which is going to be assigning roles. So let's go over that. In order to assign roles, you need to make sure that all your candidates and all your mentors and assessors or anyone who is going to be using the eLogbook has redeemed a code and accessed the course. And once they have, they will show up here. So if you're on your eLogbook, scroll all the way down in your left-hand administration menu, click on users and enrolled users. And this will now list everyone who has accessed the eLogbook. There's a long list of people on here. And now we're going to change the roles of people. So in order to do that, we need to just click this little pencil icon here. So if you click this pencil icon and start typing in support coach or assessor, and that will bring up that role. So you can click on it and then just click save. Notice it's not taking the apprentice role off, so you'll need to manually take that off. So if we click the little pencil icon and we can click the X button there and click save. Now to do that for a mentor, it's exactly the same. So if we click here, we type in mentor take the apprentice role off and click save. Now, if you do accidentally take off an apprentice role from someone, that's not a problem because you can reassign that as well. So if you start typing in apprentice and click save, that will bring up the apprentice role. So it's not to worry if you do accidentally delete that role off. Now, it's very important to make sure you have these roles assigned, as this will help you when it comes to setting up groups. You can only assign an apprentice, a support coach, an assessor, and a mentor as well. So those are the only 3 roles that you can assign. So that's fine. I'll just quickly show you again to make sure everyone's got that. So you click on the little pencil, type in the role, support coach, assessor, take off your apprentice role and click save. And we'll just change it back quickly. Apprentice, take off support coach, assessor, and press save. Now, that's really all there is to assigning roles. It's nice and simple, but it will set you up nicely to have the eLogbook set up in the best way. And this is going to lead us on to the next section, which is about groups. So if we go back to the home page, give that a minute to load. Oh, it's taken me right back to the IMI page there. There we go. And we scroll down, and in the left-hand administration menu, we're back under users, and this time we're going to click on groups. Now, groups are important as groups help stop everyone being able to see each other. So basically, a mentor and an assessor can be assigned to a group, and they will only be able to see the students in that group. Now, they can have multiple groups, so they will be able to see all the students under their multiple groups, but the groups can't see each other and the data and information. And that's quite important for data privacy. Setting up the groups is also important because our off-the-job training log requires students to be in a group for that to work properly. I must mention again, all students, mentors and assessors will need to access the eLogbook and have their role assigned in order to be able to put into the groups. So let's just go through how to set up the groups. It's nice and simple. Also, I must mention all eLogbooks come with 50 empty groups as standard. Hopefully this should be enough for you, but I will show you how to create one a little bit later. But as I said, 50 is standard. Hopefully that'll be enough. So let's go through how to set one up. So I'm going to select this one here. So we just click on it and highlight it. Click on Edit Group Settings. And we're going to change the name to Webinar Garage. So this is where you put your employer group name or the name of a specific group of people that you want to have. Your group description, that is totally up to you if you want to put something in there. You may want to, such as group 2 out of 7, mentored by Chris C, something like that, or you can leave it blank. It's up to you. Do not worry about these other settings. These are just standard settings that appear on Moodle, and you don't need to worry about any of them. And then we're just going to click Save Changes. I'm going to move this up here quickly. Sorry. As you can see, the webinar has now, the group name has now changed to Webinar Garage, which is fine. And now I'm going to go through and just show you how to add participants and to take them off. So we're going to select our highlighted group and click the green Add or Remove Users down here. And once we get through to this page, it will list absolutely everyone on your eLogbook. As you can see, it will tell you how many mentors, support coach, assessor roles, apprentices, centre coordinators, independent assessor roles, which is roles that we assign, and you can have multiple roles again, but this is a demonstration eLogbook, so these are people who have got the role of apprentice and support coordinator assigned to them, so we don't need to worry too much about that. So I'm going to set up a group now. So let's set this up, and I'm going to select Ian Holt to be our mentor, so we click Add, and I'm going to select Chris Cotterill to be our support coach assessor, so we just highlight the name and click Add, and as you can see, it's moved him from the right hand side to the left hand side. And now I'm going to put a few apprentices in, or a couple. So if you want to select more than one person, if you highlight a name and then click Control, you can actually select multiple people, take them off. So we'll add these two as apprentices, click Add, and back to groups. Now that group is now set up, and as you can see, if we highlight it, here on the right hand side, it will show us how many apprentices, the names, their mentor, and the support coach and assessor. I'm just going to go through this again quickly, make sure everyone's got a handle of this. So we'll just run through it quite quickly. So highlight number 7, edit group settings. 2, change the name, add a description if you want. Group 3 out of 7. Save changes down here. Select the group you wish to add people to. Add, remove users down here. So, right, I'm going to add a mentor, a support coach and assessor, 2 apprentices. Got them all highlighted, so that's Control and click on the names and they'll come up highlighted as blue, and click Add. And back to groups. And there we are. So we have our next group set up. Now, if you want to remove people, it's much the same. Highlight the group, add and remove users. Go to the left-hand side, select who you want to remove, click remove, and they'll be moved from the left side to the right-hand side. So let's highlight who you want to remove, click remove, and as I said, they're now not in this group anymore. So we'll go back to groups. If you do need to create more groups, you can just use this button down here, which is create group. It's really simple to do. So click create group. Our next group is going to be 52. Carriage 52. Again, description is optional. Don't worry about these settings. Click save changes. And as you see, if we scroll all the way down, we've got a new group here. There are a couple of settings on here which you don't need to worry about, which is auto create groups, import groups. We don't use these. Mostly we don't use import groups because we do not allow people to log directly onto the e-learning site. So importing groups won't work. And we don't auto create groups either. Again, because we don't, it's up to you where you want people and how to decide where they go. The other one here that you don't need to worry about is groupings. You can actually start creating groups of groups, but we find that tends to get much too complicated. And then the other tab over here, which is the overview, can be quite useful. And this just shows you a list of all your groups and shows you who's in your groups, which is quite handy. And it also shows you right down the bottom who isn't in any groups. Now this is quite handy. So if you're missing an apprentice and you're thinking, oh, they should be in group 47, we'll have a little scroll down there and see if they're not actually in a group yet, and you can find them. So that's quite handy for an overview session. Go back to groups. That's really it for assigning groups, to be honest with you. It should be nice and simple. I hope you found this useful and everything's been covered. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now and we're going to go to the Q&A section. So bear with me, stop sharing and see myself. So we'll go to the Q&A and we'll have a look in there and answer some questions. So bear with me a few minutes.
Okay, thank you, Elizabeth. There's been quite a flurry of questions coming in, most of which we've been able to manage and answer. The most recent question has just come through from one of our centres already using the logbook. Does APO3, so that's probably referring to our light vehicle apprenticeship standard, assessment plan version 3, the most recent one. Does the APO3 logbook allow multiple learners to be added to a group without seeing each other's work, as that's been experienced by that provider before? So is that with how they've done the initial setup where apprentices can see each other's work? Is that something that can be fixed within the roles?
Yeah, apprentices shouldn't really be able to see anyone else's work other than their own. So that may be something to do with the roles. and not having them set up in groups properly. That isn't the case, but I'm more than happy to have a look at that particular eLogbook and make sure everything is set up correctly.
Okay, so to the person that's asked that specific question, what we'll do is we'll pick this up with you, you know, afterwards. We'll do some digging. We'll find out if you've experienced that, why, and support you in you know, finding a fix for it. So thanks for the question. We've had a few people talking about different browsers and issues they've experienced with the use of the logbook on specific browsers. So what browser would you recommend, Elizabeth or Ian? What's the favoured browser for the least amount of glitches with Moodle on which this system is based?
I think that one's sometimes a personal preference. Personally, I use Chrome and I don't encounter any problems. Ian might say something different, I'm not sure, but Chrome would be my go-to browser. However, if you do get any error messages, then please do feel free to email the e-learning team and we will take a look at it and see what's going on and see if we can help.
Wonderful.
Around that.
Thank you. More questions coming in as we speak. Can we assign roles to apprentices' mentors prior to them redeeming their access code?
No. So the reason we need people to redeem the code and log on to the course is because we have two systems that talk to each other. So once you redeem a code and you've logged onto the eLogbook, you will then show up in the users section of the eLogbook. If a user doesn't do that, they won't show up in the users section and therefore you can't assign roles. So unfortunately, you do have to have the code and log into the course first.
Yeah, okay. Another really good question that's just come in. We run a group for a national chain. If I want to add a training manager to the eLogbook so they can see all of their apprentices, which is the best role for doing that?
The way I would go about doing that is probably assigning them as a mentor to all of the groups that they need. So they might have sort of, if they've got, you know, 15 groups of apprentices, you can actually put them into multiple groups and then they'll be able to see all of those apprentices just under those groups.
Okay.
Yeah, that would probably be how I'd go about it.
Okay, so for the person that's asking this question, if they are encountering you know, teething problems in getting that set up and they'd like some advice, are they best off contacting the e-learning team via the e-learning web address that you gave out earlier, and then you can provide them with some remote support in getting that set up?
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. Always happy to do remote sessions and demos and training and help people, so that's absolutely fine.
Wonderful, thank you. I think that's it for the live questions for now, but please, any questions that we've not been able to get to, like I said earlier at the beginning, we will be reviewing this afterwards and providing you know, answers to all the questions that have been asked. But one more that's literally just come through, might as well capture it while we're here.
Yeah.
When we sign up a new apprentice, how soon can they redeem an access code? Can they create an account straight away or not until they're registered with the IMI? So I don't mind taking part of that question. So for them to receive a code, you need to have registered them on the apprenticeship standard. So through web portal 2, registered against the endpoint assessment product. That will then activate the redeem codes being sent to you for those apprentices. And at that point, when the apprentice has then redeemed that code, you'll be able to assign them the role and assign them to the relevant group with a mentor attached to them. So a registration via web portal is what triggers the redeem code being sent to you. One more question that's just come through live. How many codes are allocated for each apprentice, as we will need to register a mentor and a coach for each? So standard issue is that for every apprentice, you will receive typically a code for them, a code for a mentor, and a code for an assessor. However, if you do need more, then you can just contact the endpoint assessment / e-learning team and explain how many codes you need, and then you will get the amount that you need for your bespoke setup, because we appreciate that some of you will have more mentors than others. Others will have one mentor mentoring multiple apprentices, and therefore you'll need fewer codes. So, you know, there is a minimum amount that we issue to get you started, but if you do need more, just ask and we can supply them. That's not a problem. Okay, so I think that's probably it for now. Any questions we haven't answered, we will provide an answer to those that have asked. The system does capture it all, and we do get a report afterwards. So, okay, I think that's probably enough for now. Like I say, this is the first of many webinars that we'll run on this topic. And if we find that we need to revisit this topic at any point based on feedback, then absolutely we will do. And it's definitely our intention to make sure that we've got sufficient resource there to support you in using your eLogbook, because it's important that we get it right so that you can make sure your apprentices are progressing towards endpoint assessment and are as prepared as possible to pass first time. That's absolutely what everyone's intention is in this. So thanks everybody, stay safe, and we'll see you very soon.
Thank you, bye.